What's going on, my pondering people? Thank you for your time and your patience. I am back this week with some topics that I'd like to discuss. So without further ado, I just want to get right into it. So one of the things that's been going on lately in my life is that I've been going to school for apologetics at Liberty University. Yes, accomplishment for me. Now, I've been thoroughly enjoying the studies. I'm going through a lot of different classes right now, but one of them is Introduction to Apologetics. And something that I find extremely fascinating is that you can see apologetics began way back about 100 years after Jesus' birth. Okay, so it's about 100 AD. And it starts with a guy by the name of Justin Martyr. And he is basically defending the faith against some of the attacks that are coming against it from outside cultures and perspectives. And what's so interesting is that a lot of the issues that the Greek society and the Roman societies had with Christianity are very, very similar to what we find today. And as a matter of fact, if you look throughout the history of apologetics, you see that there are questions that kind of hit on the same categories over time. Now, they change in the way that they're framed or phrased because there are certain cultures with higher levels of priority for particular viewpoints. Okay, so some ideologies and some cultures are just much more important than others, such as perhaps finances, perhaps sexuality, God. Their views all vary, and so their questions and the way that they're interested in these questions varies as well. But what seems to be the interesting thing to me, and this is kind of was a mind-blowing thing for me, is that the apologist doesn't necessarily change the way that they answer the question, or excuse me, no, that's correct. They don't change the way that they answer the question. They change the way that they relate the answer of the question to that person's culture. And so what an apologist seems to be is someone who is very knowledgeable in the field that is skeptical of Christianity and helps kind of build the bridge between that view and the Christian view. And that's probably one of the most astounding things to me within Christianity is that we've had questions develop over time, but majority of the core fundamental questions that people always come back to of, is God evil? How can you say that there's one truth? Those are just two ones I can name off the top of my head that seem to be questions people have had since day one. And so apologists since the beginning of Christianity have been answering this question. But the way that they answer the question changes because of the culture they find themselves in. Guys who are in the Grecian, Roman Greco periods, they find themselves in a way of answering this question with a lot more philosophy versus how someone might answer the question today might be a little more directly. Yes, they'll integrate philosophical terms, but they'll try to be a lot more communicative in a fashion that's going to be understood by the culture in which they're answering it in. And so that's what's so vital and what's so important as an apologist. I personally feel that this has been something I've learned while going along with my study and doing this is just that learning how to relate to people and where they're coming from is a more vital skill than simply knowing the right answer. And so if you find yourself kind of at an impasse with Christianity, you might want to ask yourself the question of, do I have a problem with the information or do I have a problem with the messenger? And if you have a problem with the messenger, then perhaps find someone else you can speak with. Or if you have a problem with the information, right, then look into it for yourself. See the validity behind it. See if it makes logical sense. See if there's some kind of evidential gap that this person's leaping over that doesn't make any sense for them, or for you rather, and ideally for them as well, because you ideally are relating on a similar logical grounding. So that being said, that's kind of been one of the first things that jumped out for me, for me in these studies. And I really felt like you guys would find that fascinating as well, that these questions have always remained the same. Mankind has always had these pressing questions, two of those I named earlier, that, they have the same 5 to 10 questions over time, and it just changes based on the cultural context you're in. It changes a little bit how you answer it. It changes a little bit how they ask it. But ultimately, the fundamentals are still there in the answer. And it just changes based on the culture in which you're answering it. So I thought that was honestly super cool because it just shows how mankind has kind of this similar blueprint. And how we're always asking the same questions, and there's just these grand questions we can't seem to shake. But that's also vital to know the history of it, because if you don't know the history of it, you're going to be trying to answer these questions blind without really being knowledgeable of the work that's been done on the questions in the past, and how current day apologists or 20th century apologists, so on and so forth, going back, have put in the work to kind of build the foundations on these answers that people are really looking for. Now, the other thing I want to talk to you guys about is something that has been of interest for me for about 5 years now. And I didn't really think it was that relevant of a topic until recently. It's just been something I've really been thinking about a lot. And it fascinates me. I just think it's interesting how things like cannabis and marijuana, however you want to phrase it, can be illegal. All right. What is the mindset behind that? Is it true? Is it not true? And so I've done a lot of research and investigations into it myself from kind of a scientific medicinal standpoint, but I've never really looked at it from a theological apologist perspective. And so that's something I want to do, is I want to look at recreational, medicinal usage of cannabis, because I think that this is going to be a topic that becomes more and more relevant as the laws in this nation begin to change towards it. I think it's going to be something that becomes more and more relevant as a conversation amongst Christians of, medicinal use is only okay, no use is only okay, recreational use is okay, here are the parameters for that. I think we need to have more of a conversation on it, because I think that there are benefits that are there, but there's also lines that we can easily cross. And so before I kind of start making videos on why or why not I think that we should consider cannabis or not consider cannabis, I want to get your guys' perspective, okay? So this is going to be a video very much where I'm going to be fielding you guys on your questions and kind of interacting with them. I want to know this, okay? As a Christian or as a skeptic or whatever background you're coming from, okay? I want to know, what are your views on cannabis? Comment this in the section below. What are your views on cannabis and why? Do you think Christians should take it? Do you think they shouldn't? Why or why not? Yeah, so that's where I'm coming from on it. I do want to do a little more work into why I think Christians should take it seriously, whether they want to take it or not. I think that there are some implications to it that need to be considered. And but I want to first get a feel for what you guys think. So what do you think about it? Comment in the section below. Let me know, and then we can start rolling a video series on that. In addition to other things like that and that I'm learning in school that I think are fascinating. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. That's it. If you like the video, if you like the channel, excellent. Do me a favor, subscribe, hit that like button. Like I said, comment what you think about cannabis. I want to know. All right. That's all I got for you guys. So I'll see you next week. And in the meantime, keep on pondering.